Want to write the great American novel? I've got just the town. Welcome to American Esoterica. If history class gives you the delicious pork chop, this is the frantic search for a flosser 20 minutes later. The essential stuff in between. The personalities, events, and other ephemera that shape our history and culture. I'm Brian Powers. The road from Lexington to Concord, Massachusetts is best known as the birthplace of America, where the first battles of the Revolutionary War took place. So it's no surprise that other parts of our cultural heritage sprang from that region as well. What may be surprising, however, is the geographical concentration of said cultural contribution. When defiant Minutemen repelled the British forces at Concord, and no, it's not Concord like the plane, the fighting began at the North Bridge. Sitting silently by during the action was a house that, at the time of the battle, was the home of a local firebrand patriot preacher who gave an account of the battle from a first-person perspective. Accounts differ, but he may have even joined the fight. He certainly joined the Continental Army as a chaplain, where he contracted dysentery, Oregon Trail style, and died trying to make it back home to his family at the tender age of 33. The good Reverend's family remained in the house long after his death, and it would be where his grandson came of age. The boy's name was Ralph, and a little over 50 years after the first battle at Concord, his grandfather's home became the epicenter of something incredible. First, in 1836, Ralph penned a short book/essay in the upstairs study of the house that won him incredible acclaim and a devoted following. This attracted others to his side, and soon there were new and notable neighbors. Of particular import among these transplants were Henry and Bronson. Bronson lived near Ralph when he arrived with his family in 1840, but in 1845, he moved out to the main road where the British had marched 5 decades earlier, and the house his family occupied had been one of the houses the British had planned to search on their way to face the militia in Concord. Around the corner, Henry lived tucked away in a small cabin near a pond. All were fast friends and close correspondents, and a new philosophical movement gaining attention. The noteworthy residents gained yet another among their number when Nathaniel moved into Ralph's family home in 1842. Henry greeted the newlywed guest and his bride by planting them a vegetable garden. Nathaniel moved out in 1845 but returned in 1852, buying the house where Bronson and family had vacated. Nathaniel named the house the Wayside, and a few years after that, Bronson and family moved into the house right next door called the Orchard House. Ralph's home took on the moniker the Old Manse. All of these houses became meeting places for these new American intellectuals and bore witness to serious moments of deep thought that would form the core of a purely American philosophical movement. Most of the members of this unique little club were writers, and it was in these parlors that their thoughts were given wing, discussed, debated, tested, and reconfigured. When the meetings took place at Bronson's house, Louisa, the second oldest of his 4 daughters, would listen to these preeminent thinkers and writers, falling under their intellectual spell and gifting her with the tools to harness her own fierce intellect. If it hasn't already been clear, these radical minds formed the core of the American Transcendentalism movement, and many of them are better known by the use of their middle names. Okay, Nathaniel was probably obvious even before the Hawthorne got called out, but Ralph Waldo Emerson kicked off the Transcendentalism movement from the same house where his grandfather watched the battle at Concord, and when Henry David Thoreau joined him, he set himself up on Walden Pond nearby. Nathaniel Hawthorne would write his 2 most famous works in between stints living in the town, but it was doubtless a huge influence on Louisa May Alcott, having a celebrated author living right next door while she composed her most famous work, Little Women. In fact, Little Women describes her childhood as it happened at the Wayside, although Bronson originally called it the Hillside. But the book is supposedly set in the Orchard House. That's right. For a span of about 30 years in the mid-19th century, the literary and philosophical capital of the United States was fenced into a few square miles of town in Concord, Massachusetts, beginning just a few feet from the location of the first American victory of the Revolutionary War, all thanks to to the Reverend William Emerson. This has been American Esoterica. All sounds were made by me, Brian Powers. Did I get it wrong? Did I get it right? Just want to tell me whether you're a Joe, Beth, Amy, Meg, Carrie, or Samantha? Drop me a note. The address is yell@americanesoterica.com. More information on the show can be found at americanesoterica.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless America.